a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live from a different location. Might not look as good as my normal location, but just temporary. Just temporary. Hope you could hear me. Hope you could see me. I do have a light on me, but kind of have 1970s style walling behind me with looks like stripes. So, obviously you don't watch Status Coup for the visuals. But I hope you enjoy today's show. Let me know if you could hear me. Let me know if you could see me. Again, I'm at a different location. We have a lot to discuss today. Boy, didn't go live yesterday. And, I mean, Joe Biden, he's giving it away. He's picking top cop, Kamala Harris, to be his vice president. Oh, who would have thought? Unfortunately, we start with the sad news that we've passed 150,000 deaths related to coronavirus in the United Corporations of America. Reports have come out that you probably should add on about 40,000 to that, because the numbers have been far underreported. So whatever it is, it's far too many Americans who have lost their lives due to the coronavirus. So very, very sad. Let me lower the volume, somebody said. So we're going to talk about that and a whole bunch of other things. Please press that like button. Smash that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream right under the live video. Thumbs up button. If you don't like me, I don't care. Just fake it. Just fake it and press the like button. Makes a big difference. Also, we're currently at 1,728. Yes, it is hot down here, but I'm not taking my shirt off. If I'm already suppressed on YouTube, I don't want to be suppressed more by taking my shirt off. We're at 1,728 Status Coup members, so please sign up if you can. That's statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 per month. $5 per month. It makes a big difference. By the way, if you don't know, now you know. Status Coup selling masks in our store. Get them while you can, hot off the presses. To be clear, this is not a N95 PPE mask. So, we're not doctors. We cannot tell you this is the hospital/doctor approved mask to wear, because I don't want anyone to think that, we're selling these masks, assuring you they're the safest thing. I don't even think you can design N95 masks. But these are the masks we're selling. We're also going to be, giving away some masks, too, as part of a membership push. So stay tuned for that. But, Jen, how do people go to our store? Jen will put the link in the super chat, you could also go to statuscoup.com and click on store. Statuscoup.com and click on store to get there. But it's not just the masks. You could get beachwear, you could get pillows for your couch. I mean, boy, a tote bag, pillowcase, coffee mug or whiskey or whatever you need in the morning, phone cover, tank top. Ooh, God, why don't I have all of this, Jen? I only have a shirt. Yoga pants or workout pants. Here's the tee. I think you should all go. But yes, masks. We would love to see you in your Status Coup mask. So definitely head to the store. I'll promote it a little later, and we'll put the link right there in the chat. So let's get this party started. Whoa, we already got Swirly Swirl, $50 in the super chat. Studies from Europe saying lots of COVID victims look like they had a heart attack and are suffering from blood clots. If you feel weird pains around your body, go see a doctor. Maybe a clot. Learned how to spot them from my mom having one. Yes, I have read that about COVID patients suffering blood clots. I'm obviously not a doctor, so I can't really speak to it, but there are reports on that. So definitely be vigilant. Like Swirly Swirl said. Gabriel, 100 sec. Keep up the good work, Jordan and Jen. My friends from Sweden. Why, thank you. So I want to start. We're going to get to Biden in 1 minute, but I want to start with the cliff, the economic cliff, because we're basically already over it. Technically speaking, unemployment ran out on July 26th, the $600 expanded unemployment. So, woohoo, masks. Catherine Garrett, get those masks while you can. So, I've been screaming from the rooftops about this for weeks. Status Coup has been covering it for weeks. And of course, there was no urgency from Mitch McConnell, from President Trump, from Steve Mnuchin. We have a double whammy here. Unemployment is expiring. The eviction moratoriums are up throughout the United States. Let me just show you this graph, which is really, really something. CNBC did this graph. But just look at the potential number of people per state facing evictions. Renter households unable to pay rent and at risk of eviction during the coronavirus pandemic. New York, 46%. Connecticut, 41%. Massachusetts, 27%. Go down the line, Ohio, 41%. Pennsylvania, 40%. New Jersey, 44%. Tennessee, 58%. Oh, my God. L.A., which is ravaged by COVID right now, 50%. Florida, 51%. Texas, 48%. Put this in the super chat if you want to look at it by your state. So you would think, maybe, just maybe, this would be a kind of urgent thing. Like the first thing would be to extend the national moratorium on rent and evictions. First of all, I don't even think it's good enough to extend the eviction on moratorium because you're just kicking the can down the road. Really, you're kicking the death sentence down the road. There's no cancellation of rent as far as I've seen. So, all right, you're going to expand the moratorium. That's not giving real relief because at some point, the eviction moratorium is going to run out. And then guess what? All of these renters are going to owe, it could be, over $10,000, possibly more, in back pay for the rent. It's insane. We should have just frozen, canceled, whatever you want to call it, rent, mortgages, utilities. So it's all across the board for renters, for landlords, because not all landlords are awful, people. They owe money to banks too. A lot of them are just small mom and pop type people that rent out apartments or what have you. So it's not all bad landlords. So you're seeing 50% possibly facing evictions in a lot of those states. Coincidentally, some of those states are the hottest zones, Florida, Texas. And it's currently not even in the Republican bill, And it's a small, small, small part of the Democrats' plan. Disgracefully. Oh, you know what the Democrats are coming up? This is the Democrats' bright idea. Kamala Harris, who we'll get to, is about to be chosen as Joe Biden's vice president, it looks like. The federal eviction moratorium expired last week, ending protections for approximately 12 million renters. I would argue it's more than 12 million. A patchwork of state and local eviction moratoriums are elapsing or will in the coming weeks, and expanded unemployment insurance guaranteed by the CARES Act will also run out by the end of the month, eliminating $600 a week. To try to ease this crisis, Democrats in Congress have proposed new legislation to help Americans face evictions. I love that this is framed as actually helping. On Tuesday, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, which frankly the squad needs to consider kicking her ass out. Sorry to say, you are not progressive if this is what you're proposing. And Rosa DeLauro, representative from Connecticut, and Kamala Harris are introducing the Housing Emergencies Lifeline Program, which will provide funding so that at risk of evictions can access legal representation, and any evictions will do limited damage to renters' credit. Quote, housing is a human right, and in the face of impending eviction tsunami, we must take a bold, urgent action to affirm that the right and protect the millions of families facing housing instability, Presley said. The HELP Act would allocate $10 billion in emergency solutions grants, which provides funding to states and localities for programs related to things like homelessness prevention and outreach, to go towards funding legal representation for those on the verge of being evicted. Oh, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamala Harris, Ayanna Pressley. I forgot the other one. During a pandemic, now I have the relief. Oh, thank God for relieving me of this stress. I'm still going to get evicted, but you'll provide the lawyer to go with me to housing court to do what exactly? Housing courts are notorious, at least in New York, I would imagine, all over the country, very, very preferential to landlords. This is capitalism, baby. I don't care if there's a pandemic. Show me the money or you're out. That's how this country works. Because it ain't a country. It's the United Corporations of America. Legal? You're providing lawyers for when I get evicted? I'm still getting evicted. I'm still going to have to deal with the stress of that. That's no guarantee that, okay, what's the best case scenario? That lawyer is going to get me an extra 3 weeks to a month before I get evicted? Because the job market is not coming back. It's not that I don't want to work, as the Republicans keep saying. There are no jobs. We're in a pandemic without a vaccine. Hello? And yes, keep smashing that like button. 410 people watching with my 1970s wooden background. But 260 have pressed that like button. I need another 100 or so. Please press that like button. There's more. The more people that like, the more people that will see. Is Jordan in a cabin in the woods? Wouldn't you like to know? P.S. You have a right to a lawyer, Jordan. LOL. Are you putting me under arrest? Andrew Dreyer, $1.99. There's a reason Ayanna doesn't have a primary challenge. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Missing piece, $2. Thoughts on Elon Musk trolling Bolivia coup? Fuck Elon Musk, okay? I don't want to talk about Elon Musk. I'm in a good mood. Elon Musk saying, oh, I think it's bad for the American people if we have any more bailouts. Meanwhile, he's getting hundreds of billions of dollars in federal money for Tesla. Hypocrite. And a bit of a, somebody's got to check into his mental health status, but I digress. So, this is what the Democratic Party does. Let's not actually fight for canceling the rent. Why? Because our donors are some of our top donors are from the real estate industry. Some of our top donors are financial lawyers. Some of our top donors are Wall Street. And what is that whole revolving door very, very, very invested in? The real estate developers that fund Kamala Harris, the financial lawyers that fund Kamala Harris, Wall Street banks that fund Kamala Harris, they're all heavily invested in getting that rent paid, baby. They're all heavily invested in, economic development, i.e. gentrification, closing down hospitals, pushing poor black and brown people out of communities so that we could build high-rises at insane prices. That's who's funding our politicians. As such, the politicians, to make it look like they're doing something for us, and this is both sides. It's not just the Democrats. Republicans are just as corrupt. That's why they're not calling for canceling rent during a deadly pandemic where over 50 million people have filed for unemployment. Because their donors won't let them. It's not in their donors' interest. Their donors have to get paid, and they represent the donors, not us. So, sorry, but somebody needs to do a security check next time Ayanna Pressley comes to the squad meeting. Because if that's the best you got, you are not a progressive if that's what you're proposing. Having a lawyer present as I get my ass kicked out the door. You know how we say crumbs for the worker bees? That's less than crumbs. And that's not going to help the most vulnerable people right now in the United Corporations of America. By the way, not such a good idea during a pandemic to be forcing people out of their homes, lawyer or no lawyer, to go to housing court with 21 states have increasing COVID cases. We're going to start throwing. How many people are going to be rushing to housing court during a pandemic with a Kamala Harris provided lawyer? Yes, Super Chat. Look in the Super Chat. We now have masks by popular demand. Can't wait to see. Definitely, if you purchase that mask, send us an image of you wearing the mask to info@statuscoup.com so we could get it going on our Twitter. Once again, just to be clear, these are not N95 masks. These are not PPE certified, whatever. We're not telling you this would, save you or whatever. It's a mask. It covers your face. That's the best we could do. You can't really design an N95 mask that I know of. So, now what is Trump and the Republicans proposing? President Trump called for a quick fix Wednesday to addressing expiring unemployment benefits and a moratorium on evictions, saying that other parts of the GOP's $1 trillion coronavirus bill can wait. The rest of it, we're so far apart, we don't care, we really don't care. Well, finally he's telling the truth. Trump told reporters outside the White House, referring to divisions between the two parties. Democrats have repeatedly rejected the idea of a piecemeal approach that would involve a standalone unemployment insurance bill. Asked Wednesday whether she thought of the idea, Speaker Pelosi replied, "Nothing, not much, nothing." Senate Leader McConnell has not embraced the approach either, insisting any bill must include a 5-year liability shield for businesses, healthcare providers, and others, a non-starter for Democrats. Let me break that down into English and translate what Turkey Neck McConnell is saying. We need to protect our Wall Street friends, our fossil fuckers, big pharma, big real estate, Chamber of Commerce types, any constituency of the Republican Party from liability. Meaning, if big, whether it's the Home Depot owner, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Target, whatever it is, Amazon warehouses, doesn't matter. We need liability so that they could continue taking laissez-faire, careless safety protocols. I'm looking at you, Jeff Bezos, who, by the way, have you been watching this hearing with Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg today? Jeff Bezos has barely been asked any questions. The most corrupt Silicon Valley, possibly the most corrupt businessman in the world. Not asked a question in the first, 2 hours. So basically what McConnell wants is blanket liability so that, corporate vultures can not put their employees first, put getting their businesses open, get gorging profits as the centerpiece, and if your workers get sick, well, that's just the price of doing business these days. Jordan, is that genuine pine? I believe so. I'll have to get my inspector in, but I believe it's genuine pine. This is not my permanent setup, by the way. This is not my permanent setup. I'm just in a temporary location. So I'm in a bunker, shall we say. And it's hot. So give me some super chats because it's fucking hot in here. Excuse my French. So basically, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who Kamala Harris failed to prosecute as Attorney General of California, we'll get to that in a little minute, speaking alongside Trump, said the two sides were very far apart. Quote, "We're looking at a deadline, obviously, of this Friday," Mnuchin said. "The president's very focused on eviction and unemployment, and if we can't reach an agreement by then, the president wants to look at giving us more time to negotiate." Trump added, "We're focused on those two things. We want to take care of them now. The rest we could discuss later." So let me just boil this down. They can't come up with a solution. They can't come up with a solution. They're far, far, far apart. They knew this deadline was coming weeks ago. It's past. July 26th was the expiration of those $600 a week unemployment. But look how quickly they bailed out those banks in 2008. It took them less than 48 hours to give almost $1 trillion. That ended up being more than $1 trillion to Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Bank of America, all of them, AIG. Then look at March and April. It took them a few days, just a few days, to give $4 to $6 trillion to multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates. The Federal Reserve has been pumping out money. It took them no time for the corporations and the banks. No time at all. But for actual human beings, for living, breathing people, black, brown, indigenous, white, mostly worker bees living paycheck to paycheck, well, you know, we're far apart. Well, you know, we don't want to incentivize people, giving them more money not to work. Giving them more money than they would make actually at their jobs, even though they can't go back to their jobs because there's a fucking pandemic. You see the difference? Oh, long negotiations when it comes to avoiding economic calamity for the working people of America. And by the way, this is bipartisan. Let's not get it twisted. Yes, Trump is in the White House. Republicans control the Senate. So on the surface, it's the Republicans in control of what happens. But the Democratic Party knew this was going to happen. They're not stupid. Pelosi's a lot of things. She ain't stupid. She knows what she's doing. They knew what they were doing when they agreed to this terrible original bill. You know the car. Nancy was driving the getaway car. As McConnell and Trump looted the Treasury. They exploited a deadly pandemic to give their friends in corporate America trillions of free money with zero strings attached. The Republicans could have not robbed that bank, that is the United Corporations of America's Treasury, without Pelosi and Schumer driving the getaway car. All that's missing is Mitt Romney's dog on the hood. I thought that was clever. So now Democrats are coming back. Ugh, the Republicans don't care about working people. The Republicans are going to allow unemployed people to have their expanded unemployment cut down from $600 a week down to possibly $200 a week. Well, you knew this was going to happen. And by the way, I tried to go live yesterday. I was having tech problems. The Democrats, even before getting in the room with Mitch McConnell has not even been in the room for negotiations. Look at this from House Whip Steny Hoyer.
Into this pandemic.
Let me just ask, though.
It's not adequate.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. It does seem like you might be willing to come off some from $600, not to $200, but you're not demanding $600 or bust?
Look, it's not $600 or bust. You don't. Speaker Pelosi said the other day, which I thought was a great line, we don't have red lines, we have values. And we're going into these negotiations with values. To say that 600 or nothing, no, that's not where we are.
Okay.
We're prepared to discuss this, but we're also not prepared, however, to let down the American people, to let down the states, the cities, the local governments who hire people who are meeting this pandemic crisis, including health personnel. We're not willing to walk away from the American people, which we think is what this bill does.
United Shades of
Boy, has Steny been hanging out with Tom Know Your Values Perez? We don't have red lines, we have values, like making sure we force into a pandemic bailout bill that K Street lobbyists get access to small business loans. Yes, the values of the Democratic Party. We have values like making sure when we give a little kick on the behind to renters as they get evicted, we provide them with legal assistance. Those are our values. Values like affordable access to health care during a deadly pandemic where tens of millions of people have lost their health care. Thank you so much, Pete Buttigieg, for the choice. Oh, the choice of private health care. Remember, we were fed this bullshit, not just by Buttigieg, by Biden, by Harris. No. We need to give Americans the choice to actually be taken care of or be fucked up the ass. Excuse my French. I'm a little crass today. It's the heat. Keep those super chats coming. I've been demonetized about 25 times already. So, again, Bernie Sanders, who I'm not exactly so happy with right now, but Bernie Sanders said it right. You don't start accepting half a loaf. You demand the whole loaf, particularly when you have the American people behind you. In an election year, by the way, if Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party would come out and say, our red line is we are not budging on the $600 expanded unemployment. We are taking that off the table. That has to be in there, or we are not negotiating. Let the Republicans explain to the American people and the millions of unemployed people right now during a deadly pandemic why they are deciding to cut it in half. They're talking about cutting it from $600 a week down to $200 a week. Well, let me tell you something. If your state unemployment only gives you between $200 and $250 a week, which I spoke with someone in Arizona, and other states give really, really terribly low unemployment. So you're talking $200, $250 you get from the state, then $200, $250 federal. That's between $400 and $500 a week. $400 and $500 a week. Okay, well that's basically $2,000 a month in unemployment. Try living off that in New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia, a lot of major cities in America, but even in Idaho or these other places, that maybe you could pay your rent, but then the choices come because you're not going to be able to cover everything. Do I pay my rent? What am I going to do about groceries? What am I going to do about my car payment? What am I going to do about my car insurance? What am I going to do about my utilities bill? What am I going to do about my student loans? Maintenance for the pool? Whatever the hell it is. $2,000 a month cannot get it done. But the Democrats, who, again, when they had leverage in the beginning, this would be the equivalent of, during the Revolutionary War, the colonists, marching in with one hand tied behind their back on horses against the British. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So, yes, Trump, awful. Republicans, terrible. Of course, I want Trump gone just like anybody else. But this is what we have when Trump is gone? Legal assistance as we're booted out of our apartments during a pandemic? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's only going to get worse, folks, because frankly, whatever they end up deciding on is not going to be $600 a week. And why that's a major problem. And by the way, we have 530. 530. Try turning your gain down a tiny bit if you get a chance. My gain. Why that's a problem is the state unemployment offices have already said we're having a hard enough getting out the $600 checks. State unemployment offices are not equipped. They don't have the technology or the staff for pandemics where you have tens of millions of people at one time filing for unemployment. So that's just with one amount, $600. Then you're going to be changing the amount. That's going to be requiring out of just very technologically half-assed backwards machines, putting in different amounts, whether it's $600 this week, the $250 starts this week. That is going to be a disaster. A disaster. Jordan has a hot tub in that room? No, I don't. No, do not turn down the mic. Can you hear me? That's going to be... Hold on. Half-ass backwards machines, putting in different amount. What's wrong with the audio? It sounds good to me. So now let's move on to what we're getting. It looks like we're getting, because Joe Biden, who came out from the bunker, from the basement yesterday, gave a speech. Didn't mess up too bad. And yes, if you're new to this channel, subscribe. We're almost at 85,000 subscribers. So please, please, please subscribe. Joe Biden, apparently, his feelings were so hurt by Kamala Harris going at him during that debate. When she went out of him for being a racist and, palling around with Strom Thurmond in the 1970s, trying to put forth legislation to stop busing from happening. It was a good attack by Harris. Unfortunately, she didn't do anything after that for her. So Biden, because his ego and is so frail, had to write down do not hold grudges. So the Associated Press got a sneak peek of Biden's notes that he had to himself yesterday before his speech. So the notes, which were photographed at a speech in Wilmington, Delaware, featured Harris's name, followed by 5 talking points. Do not hold grudges. She campaigned with me and Jill. Talented. Great help to the campaign and great respect for her. The Biden campaign didn't go any further. The prominence of Harris on Biden's notes follows a political story in which former Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut, a member of Biden's team vetting potential vice presidential picks, is reported as being critical of her. Oh, because we should listen to Chris Dodd, who's a sexual harasser and bought-off scumbag. But then Politico accidentally published a report. All the outlets, they pre-write the stories, so they have a story written for every potential woman that will be chosen as vice president, so that they could then just insert the name and publish as soon as it's announced. But they accidentally published a story that Kamala Harris had been named as vice president. They even had a quote. In there attributed to Biden, who said Biden called Harris a worthy opponent and a worthy running mate. So that's interesting. That's definitely interesting because, why would Joe Biden, who, honestly, he definitely needs notes so he doesn't have a cognitive meltdown, that's for sure. But why would Joe Biden have at the top of his notes, don't hold a grudge against Harris, team player, very talented? Seems to me he might be expecting questions on the vice presidency. And, he's banking on Kamala Harris being the one he's asked about. Or he was going to say something during that press conference about Kamala Harris, either referencing some of the bills she's been proposing. She has proposed more than legal assistance for those getting evicted lately. And then if he brought her up in the press conference, which I don't believe he did, if he was asked by reporters whether she was a top contender, he could reference his notes. But the bottom line is, we don't know for sure, but between having notes written down for you, where that's like the first few things on your note card about Kamala Harris, and then Politico accidentally publishing this and attributing a quote to Biden, which to me means possibly Biden's campaign has leaked to select outlets who he's going to pick. They would put it under an embargo, is what they call it. So we're giving you the news, but you can't publish it until this date and this time. Outlets tend to disregard the embargo towards the end of that embargoed time. But to me, it's going to be Kamala. It's going to be Kamala Harris. Because why not? It makes perfect sense if you're Joe Biden. It makes perfect sense. He is Kamala Harris. And you have to remember, Joe Biden has been very open. He's basically said, I'm only going to serve one term. I'm just a bridge. I'm a bridge to the next Wall Street bought-off neoliberal hack. So you really have to assume if he's picking Harris, she's going to be the golden child. She is the DNC approved, Obama approved, Clinton wing approved successor to basically Obama and Biden for 2024, possibly earlier if Biden doesn't finish. Mike Blair, $5. Joe Biden came out of the bunker. Indeed. Keep those super chats coming if you can. And keep pressing that like button. 635 people watching, but 434 likes. I'm not asking you to like the stream for our health or my ego. It actually helps get the viewership up. The more likes, the more viewers. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. So just want to take you down. Oh, and let me show you, because as this is coming out, as Biden basically gave away the game, apparently some of his allies are now running a shadow campaign to stop Kamala from becoming vice president. A group of Biden allies, including a few of his top donors, initiated a campaign against Harris a month ago, just weeks before a decision was expected. The concern focused on her attacks on Biden during a primary debate last year, bringing into question her loyalty to the former vice president. Some also argue that she's too ambitious and that she will be solely focused on eventually becoming president. So, first of all, I hate to say this because I would never, honestly, it would be very, very hard for me to think of something good to say about Kamala Harris. But that is extremely sexist. You got these Wall Street donors, older white dudes who are way, way out of touch, probably have a bit of a Gordon Gekko, Jordan Belfort, if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street mentality when it comes to women. You think they'd be saying that about a possible man? You think they'd be saying that about Cori Booker, who threw some arrows at Joe Biden during the debates, if Biden was going to pick Cori Booker? No. They're saying, we're a little perturbed that this woman here had the audacity to debate Biden during the primary. Tell you the truth, I wish Bernie Sanders would have went as hard as Kamala Harris did in that moment. And I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, but she did. She did Biden nasty in that debate moment, and it was a good shot that she took at Biden. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any political skills, so she wasn't able to capitalize on it. But for Biden's donors to be, this campaign against Harris because she had the temerity to debate and to challenge him, it's sexist. I'm just going to say that. But putting that aside, they're afraid that she's going to be angling for president as soon as she becomes vice president. The disgruntled group of at least A dozen Biden backers, including a few of his top donors, initiated the move against Harris close to a month ago, just weeks before a decision is expected, according to people with direct knowledge of the matter. Many who spoke to CNBC declined to be named about these efforts. In some cases, her foes have taken their concerns directly to members of Biden's VP search committee, led by former Senator Chris Dodd, a very, very well-known scumbag. He has sexually harassed women, very bought off by Wall Street. Now he is a lobbyist for Hollywood. Mayor Eric Garcetti, if you live in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti is essentially the Rahm Emanuel of Los Angeles, and I don't know the other two, who previously served as counsel to the presumptive Democratic nominee. Although none of these actions signify that Biden will drop Harris from the list, the movement gives a glimpse into the effort being waged to derail her candidacy. Some remain bitter about her attacks on Biden during primary debates last year, saying they bring into question her loyalty to the former vice president. Others argue that she's too ambitious and that she will be solely focused on becoming president herself. Many of these Biden associates have been pushing alternatives to Harris, such as Val Demings, Karen Bass, Susan Rice, and Senator Tammy Duckworth. Well, again, I'm no fan of Kamala Harris, and I'm about to show you a Hall of Fame. If you've never seen some of these clips, I'm about to take you down memory lane. But honestly, I think we would want somebody ambitious thinking about becoming president, because they might have to step in as president sooner than later. Have you paid attention to Joe Biden in the last year? I know the corporate media has been covering up for him as he calls himself an Obama Democrat, as he forgets President Obama's name on multiple occasions. It's not a stutter, folks. He didn't stutter as vice president. He didn't stutter as a senator. As he completely loses his train of thought throughout speeches, throughout debates, as he preemptively cuts himself off from speaking during debates. You're probably going to need more than a doormat as vice president, because it's not very clear whether Joe's going to be awake past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't say this as an ageist. I don't say this to mock the man. Frankly, I thought his family, top Democrats, Obama should have yanked him out of there months ago. He's not well. I'm not going to place a label on it because I'm not a doctor, but he's clearly not cognitively sharp. But what's amazing to me, and I'm about to remind you about Kamala Harris's who she is, it's amazing to me that if she's the choice, and I think it's probably between her and my guess is Susan Rice. I think Biden would be dumb enough and bland enough to pick Susan Rice, who reportedly he has a very good relationship with. Chris Kelly, $10. The Arkansas Secretary of State refused to count 100,000 votes to get an anti-gerrymandering bill on the ballot. Visit represent.us to get involved. Thanks, Chris. Could you email me that? info@statuscoup.com so we could look into that. I'm talking to a few different viewers right now about stories in their communities. IOJ, $5. Kamala gets to shred Biden and be VP and Bernie gets nothing is almost like lying about Joe Biden not being corrupt in any way didn't work for Bernie. Oh, Bernie. We'll talk about Bernie in a little bit. By the way, just reminding you folks, because we got more viewers, Status Coup masks are here. Status Coup masks are here by popular demand. Go to the Status Coup store. We have already sold 11 Status Coup masks. I would love to get that number to 20 today. So, there it is. A beautiful mask. Wear morning, noon, and night. I remind you, definitely not an N95 mask. We're not saying this is PPE certified. I don't even think you could design a mask that N95 mask. So we're not doctors, we're not nurses. Obviously, wear whatever makes you most comfortable and secure in your safety. But these are masks that would obviously cover your nose and mouth. And we would love to see more people with Status Coup swag across their face in these tough times and this situation. And while you're in the store, you could obviously purchase other things with Status Coup on it. So Jen is putting the link right there in the super chat. But Biden, it just shows you the arrogance of this man. You have a civil rights explosion right now. Protests all over the country. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We were in Louisville covering the demand for justice for Breonna Taylor, which unfortunately hasn't gotten anywhere yet. Still no charges for any of those 3 officers. Only one of those officers has been fired. An absolute disgrace. Ahmaud Arbery. I mean, you go down the list. Now seeing this video of a New York woman literally basically ambushed by police, thrown into a van. Is this America? We've seen Portland. So you have this moment with amazing organizing against police brutality. Calls for defunding the police. Calls for taking down these statues of Confederate soldiers and other racist leaders in America. Calls for direct money for black businesses. Not tax credits, but just direct money for black-owned businesses. And Joe Biden hears this, and his answer is Cop Mala Harris. And when I say Cop Mala, I mean Cop Mala. Go speak with California activists. Go speak with California progressive politicians. She was a disaster as first district attorney of San Francisco and then attorney general of California. This is who Biden would choose to be his running mate? Let me tell you something. Right now, if the election were held today, regardless of who he chose as his vice president, Biden would probably win 300 electoral votes, is my guess. I have never counted Trump out. I don't think he's out of it, even though it seems like every decision he is making, he's hoping to be out of it. But it's almost like he's trying to lose on purpose. But if Biden chooses Kamala Harris, that could be something that potentially gives Trump a way out of this, meaning lets Trump back in to be victorious. Because Biden might think he could win with just the suburban wine moms, the resistance wine moms. He might think he could win with moderate Republicans, whatever the fuck that means, these Lincoln Project hacks. You know, go ask Hillary Clinton how that worked out for her, courting Jeb Bush donors and courting moderate Republicans and picking basically a Republican in Tim Kaine while giving the middle finger to progressives. How'd that work? I don't want to hear sexism. That's not why she lost. Sorry. It would be a terrible decision. Yes, a black woman would be terrific, but I've got black women that would be way better. Let's start with Nina Turner. Not going to happen, but would be way better. Second, Barbara Lee. Not going to happen, would be way better. Third, she's definitely not invited to my Christmas party, and I'm a Jew, but Karen Bass is far better than Kamala Harris in terms of progressive bona fides. She's not Nina Turner, but she's at least somewhat in the game. Woo! 1,000 people watching right now. Keep smashing that like button and make sure you subscribe to this channel. YouTube has been hiding us in a cave. We're live almost every day. 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Put it in your phone. Status Coup. Smash that like button, subscribe. So let me just take you down memory lane. And this is a credit to independent journalist Walker Bragman, who got
I have friends like Eva Patterson. Okay, so I say with all love and warmth that part of the concern also for people who are progressive thinking and liberal-minded, or just progressive thinking in terms of just fix it, is that we all have these posters in our closet that is attached to a stick that we sometimes will card out when we're talking about criminal justice policy and those statistics that you first heard when we opened it up, incarceration. And we run around with these signs, build more schools, less jails. Build more schools, less jails. And we walk around everywhere, build more schools. We protest, build more schools, less jails. Put put money into education, not prisons. There's a fundamental problem with that approach, in my opinion. And it's this. I agree with that conceptually, but you have not addressed the reason I have 3 padlocks on my front door. So part of the discussion about reform of criminal justice policy has to be an acknowledgement that crime does occur, and especially when it is violent crime and serious crime, well, there should be a broad consensus that there should be serious and severe and swift consequence to crime.
Well, build more schools, less jails. I'm okay with that conceptually. Well, Kamala, maybe you need 3 padlocks, which I think is a little overblown, a little overworried. Maybe because the Democratic Party, as the enablers of the Republican Party for the last 40 years, have abandoned inner cities, have not invested pretty much anything in Flint, Detroit, major parts of Chicago, other than the parts that Rahm Emanuel gentrified. You go across the list: Cleveland, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. I could go on and on and on and on. Shitty schools, lack of jobs programs for black and brown people that start a mile down the line in the race for life from white people. No good jobs, no good schools, cutting community center programs, cutting youth programs. No wonder there's some crime in communities. But because you don't understand that, or frankly care, we need to build more jails. Let me tell you something. You build more schools. You, as a government, stop giving trillions to multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates that don't need it, and start redirecting those billions to direct government jobs programs for young, black, brown, indigenous people and poor white people. See how far. See how quickly crime goes down. It ain't rocket science. But Kamala Harris is a cop at heart. She don't get it. She don't get it. Thank you. And Starks, $5 in the super chat. Jordan, when you doing that postmortem on Kamala's campaign thingy she was doing last year? Because I still don't know what the fuck they were going for. Don't make me do it. Jacqueline DeBlue, 100 pounds in the super chat. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Love you across the pond. I know it's childish, but I really dislike Biden's wife. And yes, why does she not yank him out indeed? And the thought of her as a FLOTUS, though anyone is better than Melania, surely. Anyway, all 3 status quo members here, whole household, say hello and meow. Send my love to the cats, Jacqueline, and thank you so much for your support. Kara Kim, $10. No legalized weed and Kamala VP equals we all in jail now. Well, she just told you. She just told you. We need swift crime. We need swift penalty for people. Build more schools, less jails. Yeah, I believe with that conceptually, but you know, it's kind of like, yes, I believe as a Democrat in the idea of universal health care. We just disagree on the road to get there. We will be saying and hearing and taking in that same bullshit for the next 50 years if progressives don't seize power. Because Kamala Harris doesn't understand crime as an issue is an issue because you've given millions and millions of people, mostly disadvantaged and minorities, no other choice. That's not defending people committing crimes, but if you don't have any way to provide for your family, you know, sometimes you're going to sell drugs. If you don't have any way to provide for your family, sometimes you're going to steal. If you don't have any way to provide for your family, sometimes you're going to put forth counterfeit bills. And I could go on and on and on. But the types of crimes where her donors commit, oh, Kamala Harris isn't as swift. Go ask Steve Mnuchin, who should have been in jail, but Kamala Harris decided not to prosecute. Go ask all the leading bankers It's not Kamala's fault they weren't, but Obama didn't prosecute that. So Kamala believes in swift justice for people who have been forgotten and basically deserted by the federal, state, and local government, but not for her donors. That's who would be vice president. And frankly, that's who would likely become president in possibly even before 2024. But there's more. Here's Kamala Harris bragging about why she brought charges against single mothers, a single homeless mother of 3 who is working 2 jobs because her children were truant.
We created what we call the DA mediation program, where we assigned prosecutors to go and sit with the administrators and principals when they met with all the parents. And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there, and I said, when you go over there, look really mean. And so they did, and invariably the parent said, well, who's the mean-looking dude? And the principal would say, well, that's someone that mean DA Kamala Harris sent over here because she said she's going to start prosecuting you if we can't work this out. And through that initiative, we found cases like the case of the woman who was by herself, raising her 3 children, holding down 2 jobs, and homeless. She just needed some help. But by shining this infrared spotlight of public safety on the fact that her children aren't in school, we were able to figure that out, get her access to services that exist, and through that process, the attendance of her children improved. We dismissed the charges against her, and overall, we've improved attendance for this population in San Francisco by 20% over the last 2 years. So I declared then, bad guy, I'm going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. If you know anything about San Francisco politics, you would know that there were tomatoes being thrown left, right, and center. I had no intention or desire to prosecute parents.
Yeah.
But shedding this infrared spotlight that we have of public safety on an issue that is a seemingly small issue got the attention we needed, and we ended up, through a series of approaches, improving attendance by over 30%. As Attorney General, last year, I published the first study on elementary school truancy in the state of California. We had 1 million California elementary school students who were truant, 250,000 who missed over 10% of the school year, 44,000 who missed over 20% of the school year. It is well documented. An elementary school truant is 4 to 5 times likely to become a high school dropout. 82% of the prisoners in the United States are high school dropouts. When you look at the statistic in terms of African American men, an African American man who's between the age of 30 and 34, if he is a high school dropout, is 2/3 likely to be in prison, have been in prison, or dead. The numbers and the statistics are absolutely clear. There's a very direct connection between public education and public safety. And so if we're going to be smart as in a system and effective, let's deal with it while we can actually have an impact. And by the way, even if you don't care about children, it's just going to be cheaper to deal with it than addressing it later in our prison system. Or let's talk about it in terms of what we're not receiving in terms of workforce development, what we're receiving in terms of the burden.
Yep. I want somebody who brags about looking mean to single homeless mothers, intimidating them so they'll get their act together and send their kids to school. You know, we don't need to try a different approach, like possibly sending a social worker there without the threat of arrest. Possibly sending health officials, social workers to actually, right off the top, instead of looking mean, looking like you're there to help. No. Let's brag about looking mean for the single homeless mothers. Which, by the way, ironically, there might be a lot more of those now with that eviction moratorium coming up. Because like we've said, the cliff is already here. People are hanging off the cliff. But then there's this one. This one really gets it. Kamala Harris, speaking at the Commonwealth Club in 2010, explains why she chose to prosecute first-time drug offenders in her Back on Track program.
So, for example, so nothing I am saying suggests that someone should be forgiven without consequence for committing a crime. You commit a crime, you have to be held accountable. But there is life after that, and there are steps we can take after that person has been held accountable to achieve our goals of public safety. And so, for example, in Back on Track, we require the offender to plead guilty. Why? Because he's guilty, right? The guy was out there slinging drugs on the corner. And some people would like to suggest it's a victimless crime. I would tell you it's not. You were guilty. You were out there. And by the way, I don't feel sorry for you. And I am not going to forgive you for committing a crime. But I do know what you're capable of after you've been held accountable. So let's get on the path of dealing with that also. So nothing I am saying suggests that someone should be forgiven without consequence for committing a crime. You commit a crime?
Boy. Don't you think Kamala Harris wishes she was around during the good old days when Joe Biden was talking about getting those predators off the street? When Joe Biden was pushing the crime bill. I mean, you can't make this up. This is who Joe Biden is most likely to choose? You want to talk about mobilizing the base? Well, I don't know if you're going to be mobilizing younger black people with Kamala Harris as your choice. I don't know if you're going to be mobilizing a lot of younger brown people if Kamala Harris is your choice. I don't know. Bernie had a lock on Latinos. I don't know how many Latinos are voting for Joe Biden when they didn't support him in the primary. And you basically have this cop talking about going after single homeless mothers, talking about how it put a smile on her face. And, you know, the list goes on. This is from the New York Times. Headline: Kamala Harris was not a progressive prosecutor. Miss Harris was similarly regressive as California's Attorney General. When a federal judge in Orange County ruled that the death penalty was unconstitutional in 2014, Harris appealed. In a public statement, she made the bizarre argument that the decision, quote, undermines important protections that our courts provide to defendants. The approximately 740 men and women awaiting execution in California might disagree. Can you imagine saying that's part of their protections, getting electrocuted or hung or whatever? In 2014, she declined to take a position on Proposition 47, a ballot initiative approved by voters that reduced certain low-level felonies to misdemeanors. She laughed that year when a reporter asked if she would support the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. Ms. Harris finally reversed course in 2018, long after public opinion had shifted on the topic. Sounds like Hillary Clinton to me. Remember when she pivoted real quick on gay marriage when she wanted to run for president. In 2015, she opposed the bill requiring her office to investigate shootings involving officers, and she refused to support statewide standards regulating the use of body-worn cameras by police officers. For this, she incurred criticism from an array of left-leaning reformers, including Democratic state senators, the ACLU, and San Francisco's elected public defender. The activist, Felicia Jones, who had supported Ms. Harris for years, asked, how many more people need to die before she steps in? Worst of all, though, is Ms. Harris's record in wrongful conviction cases. Consider George Gage, an electrician with no criminal record who was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter, who reported the allegations years later. The case largely hinged on the stepdaughter's testimony, and Mr. Gage was convicted. Afterwards, the judge discovered that the prosecutor had unlawfully held back potentially exculpatory evidence, including medical reports indicating that the stepdaughter had been repeatedly untruthful with law enforcement. Her mother even described her as, quote, a pathological liar who who, quote, lives her lies. In 2015, when the case reached the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco, Ms. Harris's prosecutors defended the conviction. They pointed out that Mr. Gage, while forced to act as his own lawyer, had not properly raised the legal issue in the lower court as the law required. The appellate judges acknowledged this impediment and sent the case to mediation, a clear signal for Ms. Harris to dismiss the case. When she refused to budge, the court When she refused to budge, the court upheld the conviction on that technicality. Mr. Gage is still in prison serving a 70-year sentence. Well, she kind of fits with Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden was interviewed in 2016. He was asked, "You have any regrets over the crime bill?" His answer, "Not at all." He still, to this day, says the crime bill did not usher in mass incarceration for young black men. To me, this was, of all the times Bernie Sanders failed to go after Joe Biden, he should have gone after him for the crime bill. He should have gone after him for lying about his civil rights record, for lying about being arrested on his way to meet a newly released from prison Nelson Mandela, for lying about participating in civil rights sit-ins. There was so many lies from Joe Biden that Bernie Sanders didn't go after. But Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are very simpatico on the issues of criminal justice. Now, Biden could put out whatever proposals his campaign puts out, but in his mind, he believes you do the crime, you do the time. And he doesn't really care much for the nuance of why people commit these crimes. Thank you, Jason Milton, $5. Jordan, the Republicans and the Dems, non-racist conservative organization. We have two of the same parties, Kamala VP and Mayo Pete as Secretary of Platitudes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Anthony Martino, $5. Bone, Coup, and Harmony. Coup Against the Machine. Coup Hot Chili Peppers. Coup and Pepper. Coup Tang Clan. Tribe Called Coup. Coup Nation. Love it. And by the way, that Anthony Martino is the same Anthony Martino. I interviewed him last week. He was facing eviction. His wife is unfortunately at 35 years old, terminally ill. He is a 24/7 caretaker for her. A 24/7 caretaker for her. You guys, I don't know what the last count was. You guys, Status Coup viewers, have donated over $11,000. Over $11,000 you donated to Anthony to prevent him from being evicted. Because without that, what was he going to get? Legal assistance. If you're listening to Kamala Harris and these other Democrats, Ayanna Pressley, their answer for people like Anthony was to provide them help with legal assistance as they're facing eviction. Not actually cancel the damn rent, but provide them with legal assistance. No, not a joke. No, not a joke. So I'm really happy we've been able to help Anthony. There's the GoFundMe if you want to give more money. I think his goal is $15,000. Definitely check out that interview. We uploaded it last week. He had to stop, unfortunately, several times during the interview to go tend to his wife. This is real. People with terminal illnesses and their caretakers, their spouses, are facing eviction in this fucked up corporation, not a country. We live in the United Corporations of America. So keep on keeping those super chats. By the way, since I got 1,300 friends here, if you are not a Status Coup member, if you don't even know what that is, please sign up today for as low as $5 a month. Statuscoup.com/join. It will help us continue reporting. It will help us continue expanding. Yes, there's a pandemic right now, but we go out in the field more than anybody else. As a member, you will get an opportunity to join us for our monthly members call. You also get exclusive behind-the-scenes content that nobody else gets. Behind-the-scenes videos, behind-the-scenes diaries, behind-the-scenes photos. Sign up. because there's a lot of outlets out there asking you to donate and become a member and this and that, and then they give you Trump, 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 Russia, 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 bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. We do things slightly different. We go out in the field. We've been all over this country in the last 2 years.
Standing Rock. I've been with you. I've been with you since Standing Rock.
Wow, you got me on right now. We're doing it, baby. We're going to South Bend. It's time to show the real Mayor Pete.
In 100 days, they tore down 1,000 houses in 100 days.
Thank you, whether it's Standing Rock or Flint or everything else you do. You know, you guys, it's not even like watching news. It's just watching truth, you know.
It's not me and you, Jordan. It's the ruling class. It's David Koch. It's the Walton family, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It's them, not us, that benefit from these illegal offensive wars.
Come on over here. Whoa!
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and you are going to see live the actual caucus process. We are here.
We go out in the field, and we give the microphone back to the people.
Yo! Coup! I know who you are, yo!
How you doing, man?
You the man, yo!
So definitely join the Coup community today. Statuscoup.com/join. But I also wanted to show you, because it's not just criminal justice or lack of justice, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have in common. They both love themselves some Wall Street, baby. This, just from last year when she was running for office. Kamala Harris set to raise money with former Wells Fargo executive. This Wells Fargo executive was the lobbying executive who defended the bank during their fake account scandal. When Harris was California Attorney General, she sued the bank for privacy violations. Oh, so a former Wells Fargo executive who defended Wells Fargo during its massive fake account scandal is hosting a fundraiser for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. The former executive, Miguel Bustos, worked from 2013 to 2017 as Wells Fargo's Senior Vice President of Government and Community Relations, where he oversaw lobbying and community outreach efforts in 6 western states: California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Montana, and Utah. Bustos is hosting a fundraiser for Harris on Saturday night in San Francisco, timed to coincide with the city's Pride weekend. The fundraiser lends ammunition to progressives, many aligned with the rival presidential campaigns of Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, who are skeptical of Harris's willingness to take on Wall Street and the financial industry. So, basically, she didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin when she was Attorney General of California. No. We don't prosecute big donors. Steve Mnuchin just happened to donate to Kamala Harris, but I digress. Steve Mnuchin, whose firm just blatantly committed foreclosure fraud. Nope. Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of California, didn't prosecute them. Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of California, was known to be very, very chummy with those same Silicon Valley executives who were testifying today to Congress. And we'll have more on that tomorrow. I didn't get to watch the whole hearing. She didn't prosecute anybody from Wall Street. She certainly didn't prosecute anyone from Silicon Valley. She, in fact, was very chummy with all of them. Actually, I remember during the presidential primary, there was a story about her and in the penthouse suite of a Citigroup executive. Citigroup also brought the global financial economy down in 2008. I think doing paw prints. She was literally in the penthouse suite on Madison Avenue, on Fifth Avenue in New York City with a Citigroup executive doing paw prints with that Citigroup executive's dog. Talk about for the people. For the people, Kamala Harris. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. This is who Joe Biden is promoting to be his vice president. The last thing I'll say on Kamala Harris, this is from the New York Times. At times, her shifts in tone and substance have been abrupt. Earlier this month, she laid out a clear and creative plan to lower drug prices with presidential executive powers. Then hours later, she took a new and confusing stance on Medicare for All style health insurance, endorsing the program but opposing taxes typically seen as necessary to fund it. Yeah, you remember that. Her, quote, Medicare for All plan that would come to fruition in 10 years. That set of instincts, her preference for narrow, tactile proposals over grandly ambitious ones, her facility with procedure and unease with ideology defines her approach to politics, according to Miss Harris and her closest associates, and her ability to reconcile those inclinations with her party's mood could determine the fate of her campaign. So let me translate to you. Reconcile those inclinations with her donor's mood could determine the fate of her campaign. This is a woman who does have an ideology, but it ain't progressive. It ain't even neoliberal. It's what do the donors want? That's how I gotta get it. That's how I got ahead in San Francisco, and that's how I'm going to become vice president, and that's how I'm going to become president. Because she's probably thinking Joe's not long for this world. I mean, at least politically, he's basically said, "I want to be a bridge to Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer." Oh, talk about a bridge I don't want to cross. And by the way, we have almost 1,500 viewers watching right now. Amazing audience today. 670 of you have pressed the like button. Can I kindly ask another 600 of you, please press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. Appreciate it. So, that's who Joe Biden jotted down on a piece of paper that he shouldn't hold a grudge against. That's who Politico accidentally, I guess, published would be vice president. I mean, I don't know what to say. You can't make it up. Really can't make this stuff up. Moving on, and keep pressing those like buttons. Oh, did I miss a super chat? Vicky Blair. She said she just ordered t-shirts for her and her husband. Woohoo! Thank you, Vicky Blair, for the super chat and ordering the t-shirts. We are dropping those links in the super chat. You could order a mask in the super chat. They're now on sale. I think we've sold at least 15 masks already. You could order shirts, Status Coup shirts, Status Coup pillows, Status Coup phone covers, Status Coup pillow top. You name them. You name them. You could order them. And of course, most importantly, join the media revolution. Become a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. We were almost at 2,000 members, but then COVID happened and we had a lot of people cancel, unfortunately, because unsurprisingly, they were losing their jobs, so they had to cancel. But we hope to keep growing because this is the funds that we use to go back in the field. Obviously, with COVID, we're in the field less, but we have been using freelancers in Portland. We have been using freelancers in Los Angeles. Recently, we used freelancers in Philadelphia. I will be back in the field sooner than later, probably driving rather than flying. So definitely keep signing up. statuscoup.com/join. Raymond Gordon, $5. I voted for Clinton. I hated myself for it. I will not vote for Biden. Listen, as I always say, I'm not going to tell people who to vote for. I mean, I just don't think it's the place of a journalist to be telling people who to vote for. You vote for who you want. I didn't make any secrets that I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I didn't tell you vote for him. I mean, you vote for whoever you want. I understand people that feel they have to vote for Biden, in swing states particularly. But I also understand why people wouldn't want to vote for Biden. But Weiss Sleisenberg, $5. But can we buy a Jordan pillowcase? Well, that's going to cost you extra. No, I'm kidding. I don't think we have Jordan pillowcases yet. I think that would be a little narcissistic, to tell you the truth. I don't think you want to sleep with a Jordan pillowcase. That would get old real quick. So, let me move on, because President Trump has notched up the racism a couple notches. I rarely cover Trump's tweets, because I hate how the media just, all they do is cover Trump's tweets. But I couldn't ignore this one. He tweets out, "I'm happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market, and crime will go down. I have rescinded the Obama-Biden AFF rule. Enjoy." I don't even know where to start with this. First of all, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what the Obama-Biden AFF rule was. It probably didn't go far enough, but let's focus on Trump for a minute. I'm happy to inform all of the people living in this suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt. Be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market. So really, what Trump just tweeted, for lack of a better word, is we're getting rid of the black people in your neighborhood. Don't you worry about it. We're getting rid of the black people. We're getting rid of the brown people. You will not have to deal with that. Your housing, the value of your house won't go down because of those pesky minorities. You'll be safer. Law and order, law and order. Thank you, Canvas Dancer, $5. We can't do without status quo. Love and need you guys. Love you too. Robert Copeland, $5. How in the hell did people in my state elect Kamala Harris for U.S. Senate? Go check her donor list. There's a lot of money from Silicon Valley. A lot of money from Wall Street. A lot of money from Hollywood. And that tends to reign supreme in California, unfortunately. So, I mean, it's not like breaking news that Trump is racist. But I find this, I kind of respected Trump. I don't know if respect is the right word, but kind of at least admired that this guy was like, he knew he was a real visionary politician. He had the pulse of voters in 2016. He realized that, tens of millions of people, particularly in the Rust Belt, were just beaten up. They were a mix of hopeless, desperate, angry. Their jobs had been offshored for years, for decades, really. And they were tired of the Democratic Party, who signed the bills and into law that's sent their jobs overseas. They were tired of normal bullshit politicians. He obviously didn't mean anything. He didn't actually follow through on most of the good things he said he would do. He followed through on a lot of the bad things he said he would do. But at least he had the pulse. At least he had the pulse of the country. But I don't know exactly. I mean, it goes without saying that tweet is beyond racist, beyond deplorable. It's disgusting. It's still shocks me to this day. I know nobody's shocked anymore by what Trump puts out there, but it's just shocking to this day that this man is the president of the United States. But basically, it seems he thinks the road to victory is by being more racist. And the road to peeling back a lot of those suburban voters that Biden has gotten in his corner. And by the way, Biden is a different kind of racist. He's not as viscerally racist, but his policies are certainly racist. He still won't decriminalize marijuana. I think that's racist. Still won't provide Medicare for all people. Healthcare outcomes are disproportionately worse for black people. He's still doing fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser with Wall Street donors and executives who disproportionately prey on black homeowners, charging them higher interest rates. So there's just different kinds of racism in America. There's the make your blood boil racism because it's just sirens. He's not dog whistling anymore. Trump is just blaring this out in sirens. And then there's just the country club Republican type of racist, which is really Joe Biden. And he's not apologizing. He doesn't apologize for it. Oh, the crime bill? No, that didn't really do. That wasn't really, it didn't usher in mass incarceration. That's bullshit. But Trump's strategy here, if he thinks that he's going to peel back Democratic suburban voters that went for the Democrats in 2018, went for Biden in the primary by basically telling them, I'm repealing whatever law, so you're not going to have any low-income housing, i.e. black people, poor brown people. I don't think that's going to work. I think he's no longer has the pulse of the voters he would need to win. Because suburbia right now, they're not that concerned about black people coming into the neighborhood. They're concerned that there is a deadly pandemic that this president is telling people to inhale substances for, but he ain't doing a damn thing about it. That's what suburbia is worried about right now. The coronavirus. They're not staying up at night worried about low-income housing. Maybe Wall Street donors are. Maybe Trump's donors are. Maybe Democrat donors are, because it's not good for their development projects and their profits. But suburban voters, they're not going to switch to Trump because he assures them we're going to allow even less black people to live in your neighborhood. So, you know, if you're going to be this disgusting racist, and again, let's not pretend that's not what this tweet is. The suburban lifestyle dream, you won't be bothered anymore, financially hurt by those low-income housings. Ooh, Jen says masks are flying off the shelf. Go buy your status quo mask. Jen, when do I get my new mask? Hint, hint. Get your status quo mask in the status quo store. Buy yourself a shirt while you're at it. Are dogs able to wear these masks too? Because I might have Rusty wear a mask just for fashion. I still haven't gotten a mug, Jen. I want a mug. Not that it's your fault. I want a status quo phone cover. I want a status quo pillowcase. I lost my status quo hoodie, probably in Flint. I need my status quo workout pants for the once a year I work out. My status quo tank top. My status quo poster. All right, one last one. My status quo tote bag. Oh, wait. Do I have my status quo backpack here? I don't know where I put it. Keep signing up. By the way, one more time. You could help us for real by signing up as a Status Quo member. statusquo.com/join. Thank you for the super chat. Chester Williams. Biden is at real risk of losing this election. Even though Trump is trying hard to lose, Biden's skeletons are falling out of his closet. Chester, that's what I'm saying. First of all, you're up by 10 to 15 points, and you think it's a good idea to choose Kamala as your vice president? Again, it's not official. Ooh, can we get status quo beach towels? That would be nice. Jordan, you have to buy all that. All right. I only work 7 days a week, but I'll buy them. LOL, Huckster Jordan. Hey, we got to keep the lights on here at Status Quo. We've lost over 200 members. So yes, I will huck and try to sell masks, mugs, and all that. We do not take money from banks. We do not take money from the fossil fuckers. We do not take money from Big Pharma. We do not take money from the military. We do not take money from defense industry. We do not take money from Silicon Valley. None of those fuckers. We are supported by you. And we do not sell out. We do not call ourselves progressive and then take monies from the usual suspects. So yes, we push you to become a member, and we push for you to purchase our swag. And whoever asked about the baseball hats, we will have an announcement on that very soon, because we will be selling hats too. We will be selling Status Quo hats too. So, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so what's really telling about this is not that Trump's racist, because that's not a breaking news story. It's that he actually thinks this is the strategy that's going to work. He actually thinks this is the strategy that could work. This is not going to get you suburban voters. Oh, we do have beach towels in that store? You could go buy beach towels in that store too. I didn't even know this. The only strategy that would work if you're Trump, not that he's watching, and not that I care. I don't care. I don't want Trump to win. I don't want Biden to win either. Honestly, I think this is a shoot yourself in the face or slowly poison yourself situation. Trump re-election, shoot yourself in the face. Slowly poison yourself, Biden. Either way, you're probably going to die. I'm just keeping it real. What Trump, if he was smart, if he would stop listening to Mitch McConnell, if he would stop listening to Chamber of Commerce types, if he would stop listening to Mark Meadows, if he would stop listening to Sheldon Adelson, if he would stop listening to whichever Koch brother is still alive, and start listening to his instincts, yes, he's corrupt, but he did have good political instincts, guess what? He would say, to hell with it. We are giving direct money every month, not set to expire. Every single month, we are giving $2,000 a month. Say it was his idea, even though it was Bernie's idea. We're giving $2,000 a month to every American people until Dr. Fauci and the doctors declare it's safe to return to work and schools. Done. That's what he should do. Jordan should run for office, yes? I've been told by my loved one I'm not allowed. I have been told by my loved one, I won't name names, but she's in the super chat. I have been told I'm not allowed to run for office. I don't even want to run for office, but if I did down the road, can't do it. Not allowed. Just keeping it real. So, she's going to be mad at me. So, if you just said, to hell with it, we're not doing this patchwork stuff. We're not extending unemployment for another 2 months or 2 weeks. Not another $1,200 check. Everybody gets $2,000 a month, more if you're a married couple, more per child. I like Jesse Ventura. I'd like to interview him too. I'm going to put in a request to interview him. Trump would win the election, hands down. If Trump would say, you know what? Right now, everybody needs to be covered by Medicare. He doesn't need to call it Medicare for all. Just say, right now, we're going to expand coverage for all the people that lost their insurance. We're going to expand health care through the Medicare program. Done. Of course, I would expect if he wins re-election, they will reverse all of this shit within a day. But it's the way to win election now. Anthony just ordered his mask. Woohoo! So what is Trump doing? We know you're a racist, but it's not going to win you the presidency. Biden's campaign is doing the right thing by hiding him 75% of the time. By literally making him read off of a teleprompter. By giving him notes reminding him not to hold grudges like he's a 14-year-old teenager. The people in the suburbs don't give a shit about low-income housing right now. They care about their children being alive, their spouses being alive, and them being alive, and not getting sick with coronavirus. And oh, by the way, just to be clear, not that Joe Biden is tweeting this kind of racist shit, but let's not pretend that the Democratic Party has not been doing everything in its power for the last 20, 30 years to prevent low-income housing in neighborhoods. It's called gentrification, or as I like to call it, economic terrorism. What Trump is describing is gentrification. You push poor people out of where they live. You prevent low-income housing because your real estate developers, your real estate donors want carte blanche to build high-rise condos and high-luxury apartments. Build it over, demolish community centers so you could build apartments. Demolish hospitals so you could build luxury condos. Put in a Whole Foods. That's called gentrification or economic terrorism. So again, this is a choice between a very, very outspoken and in-your-face racist or the party that implements the racist policies without being viscerally, verbally racist. That's the choice. CNN's not going to present it to you that way. They present Joe Biden as some empathetic, wonderful man. He's been through so much. Sorry. He's part of the oligarchy. He's part of the revolving door. They called him, senator from whatever that bank was in Delaware, MBNA. The senator from MBNA, because he was bought off by the banks and the credit card companies. And thank you. Keep those super chats coming. So the last thing I want to do today, and because we have been throttled, if you don't know about it, we have been hidden by YouTube. So if you're a new viewer today, please, if you do anything, press the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click all notifications. Another thing you could do to make sure, because YouTube, I'd say 75% of the time, does not actually send you a notification that we're live or that we've posted a new video. We rarely show up in the recommended section of people's feeds. You could get a text message when we're live by texting COUP to 370-370. This is only text messages when we are live. You will not get a text message when I'm going to the bathroom. You will not get a text message when I'm feeling blue. You will not get a text message when I'm eating lunch. You will get a text message when we are live. This helps make sure people see when we're live, because unfortunately we are living in a time when digital media and Silicon Valley, Google owns YouTube, is forcing and stuffing corporate media into people's feeds, into people's recommended. All you see a lot of the time is corporate media channels on YouTube, and they are hiding channels like this. So please text COUP to 370-370. So before I go, we uploaded this earlier, but I don't think a lot of people saw it because the viewership was very low. Earlier, I interviewed Cori Bush. She actually was featured in the documentary that was on Netflix, Bringing Down the House, with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Paula Jean Swearengin, who just won the Senate primary in Virginia, so now she's the Democratic nominee for Senate in Virginia. Amy Villela, who ran for Congress in Nevada. We know her tragic story of losing her daughter because of lack of health insurance. So Cori Bush was featured in that documentary. I covered Cori when I was at the Young Turks. I covered protests in St. Louis for 30 straight days. They were protesting after a black man, Anthony Lamar Smith, was murdered by a white police officer in St. Louis. That white police officer literally was caught on tape during a police chase saying, "I'm going to kill this motherfucker, you watch." Then he killed him. So Cori is a nurse. She's an organizer. And the primary, she ran in 2018. She lost. She's running again against the same opponent. The primary's in 6 days. If she wins, she would be a strong addition to the squad. I do not think she would be calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear anytime soon. Bernie Sanders endorsed Cori Bush. So keep those super chats coming as I air my interview with Cori Bush. Gina Gal 9, $5. You missed my earlier super chat. Anyway, just ordered 2 masks and received sweatshirt 2 weeks ago. Woohoo! Gina Gal, thank you so much. Sorry I missed your super chat. They're coming in so fast. I missed a few. Thank you for your super chat, for ordering from us. We really appreciate it. IOJ, $2. Make her your running mate, Jordan, 2021. Who? Make who? Cori Bush? I'd be happy to. But I think Cori Bush should be the main draw. All right, here's my interview with Cori Bush. Make sure you keep contributing and sign up as a member to statuscoup.com/join. Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Cori Bush, congressional candidate in Missouri. I'm always very insecure about how I pronounce Missouri. Is it Missouri?
No.
Okay.
It's Missouri.
Making sure, because I've been criticized. So you ran in 2018. I actually covered you when I was in St. Louis covering police brutality protests. You have been an activist, organizer, a nurse, there for years, and you are up against really a political dynasty there. Congressman Lacy Clay, who has been there for, I think, over a decade, and after his father, who was there for several decades. So can you kind of talk about first, what are you seeing as different from 2018 and your first race to this time? We've seen really powerful ads now that you've been running. If the first time was kind of, real underdog, it seems like there's a lot more energy, media attention. What's the difference this time?
So the difference is, number one, we started out with more name recognition. We Knocked Down the House came out, on Netflix and did really well, even internationally. And so it really helped to further push my mission, push my name, all the attention that the squad has been getting. People are like, okay, well, Cori ran on the same slate, and then also just getting started early. We got started really early, right off of, not winning the last seat. And then, we have a team we organized very well from the beginning, a team that has a lot more experience. The people that came back that didn't have experience are back, so now they know. Plus, I think that right now is the time voters are just like really, really ready locally. They're really, really ready to see change. And now they see, now I'm knocking doors and people are like, oh, you're from that movie on Netflix. I see that you're really serious, because you're doing it again. So now I'm going to vote for you. So we're seeing that. By the time we made it to the ballot, we had already outraised our last campaign. We had already outorganized our last campaign. We made just a little under 180,000 in donations by the end of our last campaign. We're at nearly 700,000 this time. So that is a huge difference. People are really showing how much they believe in this campaign, and then also the George Floyd protests and COVID-19 and the fact that I've been fighting for things that would have helped fix these issues for such a long time. And seeing that the congressperson who's been there for 20 years hasn't done much, people are excited.
Mm-hmm. And I saw it up close when I was covering. We hear George Floyd's name, but Anthony Lamar Smith was a black man that was murdered by a white police officer. I was there covering that. I actually got arrested covering that a couple years ago.
Yes.
The white officer was literally caught on tape saying, "I'm going to kill this mother effer. You watch," and he did. But he got off, and that is in the backdrop of a real, frankly, to me, modern day, maybe not full segregation, but segregation. You look at St. Louis, downtown, very white, nice businesses, and I think they call it the Delmar line, the Delmar Divide, where it goes. It's a tale of two cities in St. Louis. Can you kind of talk about what is the economic conditions there, and also how has the current congressman contributed to, frankly, lack of change?
Yeah. So when you've been sitting in a seat for 20 years and those issues were present 20 years ago and they don't look much different now, as a matter of fact, our population continues to decline. We fluctuate between number one and number two for homicides and violent crime. Our poverty level continues to, it's in a place where it shouldn't be. We still have the same food deserts. We still have, so many people that are unhoused, sleeping on the streets. We still have children going to school in unsafe conditions. We have schools closing in the city of St. Louis all the time. Our schools are underfunded. We're over-incarcerating. These things are still happening. And when we have somebody seated that is supposed to be, when we look to them to say, okay, you look like me. So I really think that you should be addressing these issues. That Delmar Divide is still a factor here in St. Louis. And let me just say, we all saw the video. I know people saw the videos, the pictures of that family, the McCloskeys, and them with their guns and pointing them at protesters at one of our Expect Us actions. Well, they live on the south side of that Delmar Divide, just past that Del Mar divide, where we say if you live north of it, that's where a lot of poverty is. If you live south of it, that's where people are more affluent. They live just across that line, and that right there tells you what we face sometimes here in St. Louis. And it's this idea that there has to be a group of people that are, which is all over the country, there has to be a group of people who feel superior, and there has to be this other group of people who are in need, but I'm coming to fix that, because one thing about it is Lacey Clay hasn't had to live this life. I have. He wasn't really raised here. He didn't. I went to high school here. I've done my college and I've worked here. I worked minimum wage jobs here. I lived here and saw my friends die at the hands of gun violence. And when our congressperson could have voted to demilitarize the police and he chose not to, he chose to support police militarization just 2 months before Michael Brown was murdered. And we saw that militarized force on the ground, which is the same thing that you saw, Jordan, when you came to St. Louis, when you were arrested and and that was just absolutely, it was unbelievable. And to say that same person should get to sit in this seat when his people were brutalized and he did nothing, no.
And, what's really telling to me about St. Louis and the broader country is you look at, that couple with the, big bazooka guns, and it's that feeling of superiority, but it's also that, racism comes in different colors, right? You have Trump, who's he ain't dog whistling, he's just blaring the sirens. But then you have, the more subtle day-to-day country club racism. Kind of talk about, you started your activism probably before this, but you were in Ferguson for Michael Brown protests. You were on the ground there after long shifts. We should remind people you're a nurse, protesting on the ground the murder of Anthony Lamar Smith. I'm sure you've protested others. You've kind of talked about if you were elected, you wouldn't stop your organizing and protesting.
No.
How would that work in Congress? Because if you were out there on the ground, Speaker Pelosi, if she's still Speaker, and the Democratic Party, they might not like a politician in their ranks actually on the ground with the people.
I don't like Black people being murdered by police disproportionately in this country. I don't like trans people, especially Black trans people, being murdered in this country by police. I don't like our brown community being murdered by police. And so if nobody is going to do anything that actually affects the people on the ground, now I understand it may not affect you the same if you're in Congress, so you don't understand the urgency. But I have lost people that I know, and I've lost people to communal violence. And so if you're not going to step up and do anything about it that actually reaches us, then I'm going to show up. I'm that organizer, and I'm not going to stop being that person. Now, this is the thing. If you don't want me to do it, then fix it. But because it hasn't been fixed yet, I got to do something about it, and I'm going to show up for my people. That's who I am. I'm always boots to the ground, whether it's in nursing. Yes, my job may be in the office as management in nursing, but I'm going to come out and make sure this person gets their shot on time, or make sure that this person gets the education that they need, make sure I connect them to their medications, and so that's who we have to be. And I'm not trying to be what everybody else is in Congress. I'm not trying to be like anybody else. I have to be Cori that affects St. Louis directly. And so whatever that looks like, the thing is, we get so caught up in trying to, be this and look this way, and people don't get the help they need. Bump that. I'm going to stand up for my folks if that means standing out there organizing my own protest. Say the Congresswoman said show up at 5 o'clock at such and such, because we're going to do, then that's what's going to happen. My people are going to feel the change.
And it's a good segue, because I would think during a deadly pandemic that the federal government has mishandled, frankly, state and local governments have mishandled. You would want somebody with, emergency care, nurse experience. You've managed other nurses. Can you kind of talk about, I should say, you had coronavirus, so we have that in common. Glad you recovered.
You too.
What do you see in terms of, if you were elected? I mean, this is not, as of now, it does not look like come January of next year. I mean, hopefully the cases are dramatically down, but it's not going to be gone. What would your experience bring to that? Because I think these legislators need some medical expertise pronto.
Pronto, yes. And so what I would bring is the fact that I have, I've seen my patients die, because they didn't have the access to the health care, or they didn't have the money. They had the access, but they didn't have the money to be able to get the medications they needed. And so what I bring to the table is, somebody who I worked with this patient for 12 hours this day, and then they died at the end of my shift. I worked with this person for the last 6 months, and then they just couldn't hang on any longer because they were still rationing their insulin, while they were waiting for a kidney. I bring being somebody who's been uninsured myself and what that looks like, and going through that COVID situation I went through that as somebody who's uninsured. Also for so long as a low-wage worker, I didn't have health insurance for 10 years. I didn't have health insurance just working low wage. My company couldn't afford it. And so what that did to my credit, and how I've been trying to fight that for so long. So there's so many pieces to this. And then just knowing that this particular medication, I'll tell you, Jordan, I don't know if you went through the same thing, but while I was sick, for those 2 months that I was sick, there was one medication that I took, and I'm not trying to promote the medication because that was just my story. But there was one medication, if I didn't have the money to purchase that medication, like as soon as I took one puff of that medication, my lungs opened up like they hadn't been for 3 weeks. Had I not taken that medication, I don't know what would have happened to me. If I didn't have the money, as a matter of fact, I didn't the day of have the money. My father went and purchased it, went and got my medicine for me. That's what's happening in this country, and so I'm going to stand up and fight like somebody that knows what's on the line, which are lives.
Mm-hmm. And, that brings me, unfortunately, listen, you'd be entering a Democratic Party that just voted down dramatically during the DNC rules platform Medicare for All. I mean, they're voting down Medicare for All during a pandemic. Devil's advocates can say, well, Joe Biden's been consistent. This is nothing new. But if you can't, evolve on your principles with new evidence, I mean, I think the evidence was there before the pandemic, but with glaring new evidence, I mean, are you really an opposition party then? I mean, hopefully if you get elected, I don't know, maybe you join the squad, but what do you do to move it from winning the war of ideas to actually getting this thing through?
Right. So the first thing that I have to focus on is getting Medicaid expanded locally for Missouri. And so as much as I am fighting for Medicare for all, and I will continue to always fight for that, right now we have the opportunity to expand Medicaid. So I'm pushing that. But while I'm pushing expanding Medicaid, I'm also saying, hey, but this is why we need a Medicare for all. So I think one thing is that I've seen, especially during the presidential race when the debates were going, people were saying, oh, well, I really like Senator Sanders, but I don't agree with Medicare for all. And what I kept hearing was they didn't understand Medicare for all. So people were on the ground telling their politicians what they wanted, but what they were saying was, I don't want Medicare for all. I want an option, or I want to keep what we have because this, and that. But they were wrong. So for me, one thing that I think that we also have to do is make sure that we are pushing out the correct information on the ground, making sure that people know so that they can push their legislators to say, hey, now I get it, because we're seeing more and more people, though, that are in Congress switch to supporting Medicare for all. So, but that comes with pressure. We're getting so many things, even locally, by pressure. Activists shouldn't have to do all of this work. But when we get activists on the ground and other advocates out pushing the right information, then when people understand, just like I've been talking about Medicare for all since 2016, people were like, oh, you're a quack, oh, that's a unicorn idea, but when COVID happened, then people saw, oh, wait a minute, I guess Cori was right. We shouldn't have healthcare connected to job status. But right now, the way that things are going, it's looking like we may not get that right away. But if we keep pushing away at it, just like it ended up on the presidential debate stages, in a major way, if we keep pushing at it, Jordan, I think that we'll get it. We just have to continue. And it has to be with organizing on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And last question, I always like to drop the veil. I mean, in the beginning of the interview, we see what grassroots candidates go for. You're working 18, 20 hours a day, signs fall down, whatever. But we also see establishment incumbents they don't mess around. You know what I mean? We see people stealing lawn signs of the progressive challengers, trying to get signatures tossed out at court. Can you kind of talk about just what is it like? This is your second time being up against the machine. In that case, I mean, his father was there in Congress for 30 years. So you're talking, half a century, Lacey Clay. I mean, the bottom line is all you got to do is Google it. He takes a hoard of money from banks, real estate, insurance. I mean, he is a corporatist. What's it been like basically dealing with this machine? You've obviously gotten some improvement based on, the movie and other things. But what have you had to deal with the corporate Democratic machine opposing you?
Yeah, so I hear a lot of this. Well, Cori, we received a phone call. Like that thing happens all the time. And it's so, my thing is this. Why, if you are doing such a great job, if you have this thing sewn up, if you are in the community and active and bringing home deliverables to the community, then why do you have to make phone calls to tell this to intimidate people? And I'm saying it. I can't say who made the phone call because I wasn't on the call. All I know is often I hear, well, Cori, we were going to do this, but we received a phone call. Cori, we put your sign up, but we received a phone call. Cori, this, we were going to endorse, but then we received a phone call. So, and so that's a bunch of bullcrap to me. I think that you need to run on your record. If you got a 20-year one, run on your record because that should be shining and bright. It should be sparkly and amazing. But because it isn't, you have to resort to making phone calls and all of that. And so regardless of who is doing it, if it's somebody from his team or him himself, or somebody that's just a supporter, it's foul. And he needs to condemn it and he needs to call it out. And he needs to say, no, I'm going to go against Cori Bush the way that I'm supposed to go against Cori Bush, just on the facts, on the issues, and let the people speak. The other thing that I run up against is, like we have these attack ads and these mailers, these false claims going out. And the thing is, though, it has been a lot in my favor. I've gotten so many messages and so much mail saying, Cori, you know what? I was on the fence before, but now I'm going to support you. Like that just showed us how out of touch the congressman is. People are saying, well, even though I was a supporter of his, I think that was terrible that he came at another Black woman this way. Somebody who struggled for so long when he could have done more to make sure that those struggles weren't there. So we're getting so much. So that's one thing that has been helpful. And it's funny to actually, he tried to say that I'm like Trump and said that, I lie like Trump. The crazy thing is I'm the one that stood up first and said, impeach Trump. And then he had to later join on board. I'm the one that speaks, that I'm the one that has been very vocal about how I feel about Donald Trump when he was kind of floundering. I don't have to do that. I don't have to tiptoe and play around with people to make sure that I keep my donors. My donors are the people, 100%, almost $100,000 worth of regular folk. While his donors are those corporations. But I'll say this: if people want us in this seat, we need help right now. As of Wednesday, we have to make another ad buy. So we need about $60,000 to make sure that we bring this thing home. So if people are able to donate from $1 to $2,800, whatever you can do, and I usually don't even go that high, but that's what the highest amount you can give. This is it. We only have a few more days left to make this thing happen. Look, this is a Democratic district. If I win this seat on Tuesday, I become the very first woman to represent Congress in this particular seat, in the history of this seat, over 172 years. If I win this seat, I become the first Black congresswoman to represent a district in the state of Missouri. Missouri has never had a Black congresswoman represent. And so that's what's on the line. Lives are on the line. Our children are on the line. Regular folks, what we have, what we don't have, what we could have is on the line. And let me say this one last thing. When I look at freshman, people have said, oh, well, it's experience and then relationship. You need this longevity. No, we have freshman Congress people who have done amazing work. You know their names and you don't even know. People didn't even know Lacey Clay's name until I started running against them. We have freshman Congress people who have had 30, 50 town halls alone in just 1 year in 2019. 50 town halls. Our congressperson barely had one. That is the difference. We can have change if you stand up and help me. CoriBush.org/donate.
And I will also say, in this moment of a reckoning with racism, police brutality, economic violence, I mean, you'd be the first black woman in Missouri, and if you know the history of Missouri, it has not been kind to black people.
Not at all.
I think that would be definitely a very historic thing. Thank you so much. The primary, I believe, is in about a week, so people could go to your website to find out more, volunteer, contribute, whatever. Thanks, Cori.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you. That was Cori Bush, congressional candidate, Missouri's 1st District. The primary is August 4th, so that's 6 days from now. Listen, I mean, her energy and enthusiasm is really contagious. And I could tell you, because I was on the ground in 2017 covering protests for Anthony Lamar Smith, who was a 24-year-old black man killed by a white police officer there in Missouri. And she was at almost every protest I saw. She's a nurse. She was coming after probably a 12, 13-hour shift as a nurse protesting. So she's not, one of these Johnny-come-lately progressives. She's lived this. She knows people that have died from police brutality. And I think she'd make a wonderful, wonderful congressperson. And listen, I spent the night in jail in St. Louis covering protests there. I heard horror stories. St. Louis is a heavily, heavily segregated city. Somebody said it's modern day Selma down there in St. Louis. So she's up against the machine. Lacey Clay is the congressman there. He's corrupt. He takes a lot of money from Wall Street, real estate, insurance industry. So if I don't tell people what to do, but definitely check out our website, coribush.org. And if you could volunteer or contribute, whatever you want, now's the time, 6 days to go. And for those people who are cynical and say, oh, well, she's a Democrat, so I don't support. Well, the only way you're going to actually get reform is if you get actual progressives in large numbers. Right now, there's only about 9 or 10, capital P progressives in all of Congress. You can't really block Pelosi and what the establishment Democrats are doing with 9 or 10 Democrats. You could start doing with 9 or 10 progressives. You could start doing some things, start blocking this corporatist legislation they're putting out, start, putting some fear in them like the Tea Party did without the racism. 20, 25, that's where you really start making change. So I hope to see Cori upset and win next week. So we'll keep you up to date on that. If there wasn't a pandemic right now, I might even go there. But right now, it's just not safe to do that. So, all right, 750 people still watching. Holy cow. We have sold a lot. So one last time, you could go right now, and purchase a Status Coup mask. Again, we're not certifying this as N95. It's not a PPP, CDC recommended mask. It's just something to cover your nose and mouth. So want to make clear, we're not doctors or telling you this mask is the best one that will protect you from anything. But this is one that, we were able to put our logo on there. So it definitely will cover your face, but we can't guarantee anything beyond that. So definitely, if you can, we tried to set the prices low. You could get that mask in our store. Jen's putting a link in there. Once you get the mask, you can see other cool stuff like a tote bag, a pillowcase, hoodies, Status Coup mugs, Status Coup phone covers, Status Coup workout pants, Status Coup posters, phone covers, T-shirts, tank tops, the whole nine. And soon we are going to add Status Coup hats that you could purchase. So definitely go to the Status Coup store and get that. And by the way, we do not take money from banks. We do not take money from oil companies. We do not take money from pharmaceutical companies. We do not take money from any of the usual suspects. So our main model is membership. So if you can sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. That really, really helps us. You get to join us for our monthly members call with Jen and I through Zoom. It's a lot of fun. You get behind-the-scenes videos exclusive for members when we're in the field, behind-the-scenes photos, stupid little, videos of me singing, stupid shit like that. And also another way we can make money to grow, because we are a company and trying to grow, eventually hire another reporter, hire additional people on the marketing business side. Definitely everything counts. So, every mask you buy, every mug you buy, every shirt you buy is revenue coming in for us. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new here. Press the subscribe button, and I will see you tomorrow around 4:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 Pacific. Peace, love, out.